everybody. Just want to welcome you to the first edition of the Soulmap interviews. So today we have Emelie Archer. Hello, Emelie. How are you today?
Hello. I'm fantastic.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
Me too.
So Emelie is an igniter of paradigm. She's a poet. She's a curator of www.forbiddenlife.org. When she's not unleashing her forbidden or working on animalistic brand design at Foxy Tiger, she can be found hiking with tigers, eating bacon, or playing with her 3-year-old in her permaculture garden.
Correct.
That sounds pretty awesome to me.
It's a pretty good life, I have to admit.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. And we're talking to Emelie today in California, and I'm talking to you all the way from Dubai. So as you can see, it's nighttime here in Dubai. Looks like a nice sunny day for you in California today.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I'm very spoiled. I live near San Diego, so the weather is pretty much predictably fantastic every day.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Here in Dubai, we get beautiful weather for about, maybe 6-7 months, and now we are smoking hot.
Oh.
Today it was probably close to 50 degrees with the humidity, so.
And 50 degrees in Fahrenheit for me, because I have to translate, is well over 100. Like, well over 100. It's just way too much.
Yeah, when I said that to you the other day, and you were like, really? And I was like, I even did an Instagram for you, but I don't think I've actually sent it through yet. So
I haven't seen that. Blah. It's too hot. Like, I think I would just basically turn into, like, a puddle.
Yeah, you'd shrivel up like the bacon. Yeah?
Exactly, yes. I would be a nice crispy piece of bacon.
Right.
Delicious.
So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my program, which is the Soulmap program. And as we just mentioned that Emelie works on design, she is one of the forces. She and her partner Rick are the force behind my beautiful new website.
Yay.
So, which I'm really, really excited about. So, and Soulmap is a program that I've developed over the years to help people to tap into their blueprint. I believe we all have something really juicy and beautiful, a nice big map, blueprint inside of us that we just need to have a little bit of help unlocking. Because a lot of times we think we know what we want, but, in today's world, everything's so hectic and crazy that there's a lot of times that my clients do come to me and say, I know that, I want to create something, or I have all these great gifts, but I just don't know how to, get it out, or I don't know where to get started.
Right. How do I start? That's a huge question.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions relating to the Soulmap pillars, basically. So the 3 pillars of my program are clarify, resonate, and create. So I'm going to start with clarify, because for me, that's where it all gets started.
Yes.
And we both know it's all about energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simple principle, right?
Simple, but not easy, yeah.
Yeah, but not easy to follow, exactly. So when I talk about clarify, and what I often work with clients is helping them to identify straight away, because we all have something that's kind of taking up space in our lives that maybe is not serving us to the best of our abilities or serving us for the highest good of what we can actually achieve.
Right.
So when it comes to looking at clarify, there's many different areas where people can shift some energy or they can move the energy. So I want to ask you, you've done some massive shifting over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Huge. Right. So I want to ask you, when we talk about moving energy out so that new energy can come in, what was your single most, let's say your largest sort of piece of energy, or your largest thing that you had to look at in your life to clear from your life in order to make room for the new? And what was that? And talk a little bit about the fear behind that as well.
Oh gosh, yes. Well, I tried everything else besides this one piece. So I tried to change everything else in my life. I tried to change my job. I changed my looks. I got really, really skinny. I did everything that you're supposed to do, according to the westernized vision of what your happy life looks like. I had that happy life, and I still wasn't actually living a happy life. And so I did a lot of meditation, which I credit with helping me clarify what it was that I needed to change. And it ended up being my relationship. That was the biggest piece for me, because my relationship wasn't a good reflection of who I am. And when you choose a partner, you're choosing someone who's a reflection for the world of who you are and how you show up in the world. And I always felt like I had to apologize for my partner. He was a great man, still is, wonderful friend, but not the right person for me. And I knew it. And I knew that everybody else knew it too. And so I always felt like I was small, when I was showing up in partnership with him, because I really couldn't be like the fully vibrant version of myself, because it would make him seem pretty dull in comparison, to be honest, even though he's a great guy. And when I looked at that, honestly, I thought, I have to change my relationship. I had at this point a 2-year-old son, a house together. We'd been married for 6 years, together for 10. So there is a lot of fear.
Pretty much like, a pretty typical story of, a lot of people, I think there's a lot of people who have experienced that even before you, and maybe going through that now, and, who knows.
And it's very, very scary. To acknowledge what needs to change is the first step, and that's really, really difficult. What's even more difficult, though, is then taking action on it. And that's where getting support is really important. And for me, that's where I had somebody very similar to you that I was working with that really encouraged me that it was okay that I was afraid, and that it was also okay that I could do what I needed to do. That I had nothing to lose. Like, what is it that I'm going to lose? I'm going to lose a lot of baggage. I'm going to lose a lot of shame. I'm going to lose a lot of fear. And the price that you pay for those things is well worth it. The price of stepping through that fear. And it was the biggest gift to me to admit where things were wrong, to get really clear on what I could do about myself to change the situation, to be happier, and then, ultimately magnetically draw in the most amazing partner who is absolutely the best reflection for me of who we are in the world. We make each other better. We show up and we light people up. And just by being ourselves, there's no work to it. So there's no shame, there's no fear, there's no work. Inside that relationship, we're safe and we're ignited. And that really was huge for me after getting that clarity piece.
Yeah, so this is something that you have a great, obviously, when you teach things in the world, it's often really important that you experience those things yourself. So this is something that you have a very sort of, would you say it's almost a niche that people come to you in that sort of regard?
A lot of people come to me with questions about sexual expression, or about relating to their partner better, or how to ask for things that they aren't sure of the wording, or they aren't sure how to get the result they want without hurting people. And I have practice at that, at helping people craft conversations around difficult topics. And a lot of that is about sex, about relationships, about getting what you need from your partner, or finding the right partner in the first place. We're made to be whole, and part of our being whole is being in relationship either with a significant other or with other humans in the world. So how do we do that to the best of our abilities? And that really helps us show up for ourselves and then for everyone.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
It's really fun. I get to talk about sex all day long and people pay me for it. It's like, really? Come on now.
That is an awesome job.
It's pretty nice. And then I just go have some, and it's even better.
Yeah, exactly. Now, move on to pillar number 2 is the resonate. And so this is a really basically very simple question. So resonate for me is once I help the clients clear what they need out of their, whatever it is that, and often the whole idea about Soulmap is it's self-empowering. So I help them to identify, what it is they need to get rid of, because I don't want to be there telling them, I don't know what's best for them, but even though I may have a very, very strong sense of what's going on. But so once they've cleared whatever energy it is they need to go, I feel from my own experience, and I don't know if you feel the same, that you need to sort of often then when you've cleared, you kind of need to fill that space to kind of raise your vibration, to get yourself into a place where you're, where you feel stronger, where you feel more vibrant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are your top 3 things to raise your vibe?
Well, it starts that's number 2. It actually starts literally from the ground up, right? If you think of the chakra system and the energy field, you need to start at the ground level. You need to start at the base, at the root. And so I get outside, I go for hikes, I spend a lot of time in nature, because I find that really soothes me. It makes me calm. It helps me refocus on what's really important. So all those like stress stories about work and deadlines and children and friends and family relationships, all that stuff that distracts us from who we actually are, get evaporated when you spend enough time in nature.
And you can download, I find
yes, you're available.
Barefoot on the beach, it's like, okay, I'm on the internet, but actually where am I getting downloads? I'm like
right.
getting amazing downloads from just getting outside and my feet on the ground.
That's
and
right.
It's true. You get all these ideas that come in, you're like, oh my God, you need to like,
exactly. And so once you're grounded, once you're solid and you're outside and you're connecting with nature, then the next thing that I do to raise up my vibrations is in the second chakra, and that's the place of sex and creativity. So either I am in constant foreplay basically all day long with my partner, which totally fuels both of us. We're teasing each other, we're talking, we're sending naughty texts, we're doing whatever it is to keep that connection juicy and alive. And you as a client, I know have felt it, because we're just like it's just how we are, and it's so fun. It's very, very playful. So that helps keep things joyful and childlike at the same time as being, very adult.
And that's what, like your business is your forbidden life. But some people feel that that's really like, it's sad that some people, they feel quite almost stifled, or they feel like they can't let that side of themselves show.
I see that a lot. And really it just takes a simple permission slip that you give to yourself. I mean, nobody else can give it to you. You're like your clients, you have to do the work yourself. But I can be an example of what that looks like, because I'm a recovering good girl. I mean, I was very self-repressed. It was not handed to me by anyone, but I was very much like, walking the straight line. And
I remember reading your things, you talking about and this is no like a reflection on, we're not dissing any brands here, but you wearing your, looking at your Banana Republic,
right. Exactly.
So to speak, with your white picket fence, and nothing, okay, it's no judgment on anything.
No, it's fine. It's fine for certain people. And, of course, they still have great stuff and, it's well made or whatever. But I definitely was wearing somebody else's costume of the ideal life, and it wasn't mine. And so I had to really go far outside the box. And I think that happens a lot as people wake up. It's like the flaming effect. It's what I call, like when someone comes out of the closet as homosexual, a lot of times it's like, hello world, and it's because we have to go that far away from where we have been in order to really be able to normalize into the place of where we actually need to be and who we actually are.
You've got to go to the two extremes.
So
balance, right? You've got to go.
That happened to me. I was like saying fuck a whole lot, and I was getting like super excited and just doing all sorts of crazy things, and then I normalized a little bit. So now it's like, I'm a great mom. I'm a very dedicated worker. I get my shit done. But life is so much juicier because I've been able to ground. I've been able to get that sexual juice flowing. And then I have creative juices too. So that's also in the second chakra. And that's the third thing I really do to keep my vibrations up, because I have a very strong heart-centered energy. I have very good boundaries. And the rest of my energy field is just like, I'm good. I'm a good communicator. I'm good with words. And so those two, that first and second, are really the place for me. Now, it's not the same for everyone, where I need to focus in order to get my vibrations to be where they need to be on a consistent basis. So it's getting in nature. It's being sexual and loving it, being sensual and appreciating all the beautiful things that our senses have to gift us with, and being creative. So those are my top three.
Cool. That's awesome. And so the third pillar is create. And which was what we kind of just ended off with. But so again, I want to say to, you, like myself, you've created your own brand, and that takes, for me, like, I mean, I'm sure you've gone through a similar path, albeit slightly different. I think, like, to step out and to stand up and say, this is really who you are, is something that I know has been really difficult for me, and still is difficult for me to this day, to go, I'm
this
soul ignitress, I'm a whatever.
Right.
This is what I'm going to give to, but maybe that's what I feel is my essence. But to actually say that to someone else, sometimes, it becomes the fear thing. So I want to ask you, when you've gone through this whole journey of creating, basically your whole business, and basically, I suppose not so much creating, but it's almost unlocking your true essence.
Yes, that's what I say, is unlock your true life on my site, because
Yeah.
It is a very fearful, fear-rich process. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
very, very scary. And it's not that way for me anymore, not as much. When people ask me what I do, if it's on an airplane, I'm like, I'm a paradigm fucker. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? That sounds really fun. Like either they're terrified or they're extremely curious, and sometimes both. But it takes a lot of courage to get to that point. And
So
to
would
get
you
to
say
that point, you
using humor
practice.
has been, would you say using humor has been a way to kind of ease yourself through it a little bit more?
Yeah, humor for sure. And also, there's a drive when you understand the truth about yourself and you understand what that purpose is after getting really clear and finding the resonance inside of your life so that you're operating at top form. There's an imperative then for you to show up. And first you have to show up for yourself. You have to admit who you are, and you have to be brave enough to really embrace it and own it and say
Yeah,
this
sure.
is my gift. This is my gift to the
Yeah.
world. And if I don't share it, then the world is going to suffer because of it. And I have to be brave enough and courageous enough to admit that to myself and then to share it and to speak it out, because you can't have anything happen unless it's materialized. You have to write it, you have to speak it, you have to paint it, you have to create it. And that's why it's such an important part of the process, because if you spend all day navel gazing and philosophizing and thinking about things, that's one thing that's helpful to have the right mindset. But if you don't then put it out into the world, you're not doing anything about it. Nothing is going to change. In order to facilitate change, you have to actually show up. You have to create something. And so that's a very important piece, and I'm so happy that you're including that as part of your process, because without that, what do we have? We have the same old, same old.
It's almost like being accountable to take a step. And when I say create, sometimes people go, oh, I have to make something. It's like, you have to make your life,
Yes.
It's not so much, and for me, it's often I'll give them, it's even one small thing that they need to kind of move forward with. It's like a little bit of homework.
Yeah.
And it's not like you need to go and create a Picasso or whatever.
No.
That may be part of, that may be,
it might
the way you're going to go down.
Yeah, it might be.
I think when you were saying about, showing up and you're not serving the world by not showing who you are, that highlights probably one of my absolute favorite quotes by Marianne Williamson, and that's "You're powerful beyond measure."
Yes, it's a great quote.
It's so true, because it's like you are meant to shine.
Yes.
You're meant to shine.
Yeah. And it's really funny, but I kind of use Oprah as an example for myself when I start to feel. Well, she's a genius, and she's a total modern day bodhisattva, right? She's a wise person who's here to share in a huge platform, ways to show up for yourself and in the world and be brave. And so what I think about when I think about that quote by Marianne Williamson is, do I think that Oprah, at this point in her game, or maybe even any time in her game, ever was afraid to be who she was in order to get where she wanted to go? No. I don't think so. I don't think she sits around and goes, oh gosh, I shouldn't say that on TV because somebody might think I'm good. She's like, fuck yeah, I'm good. That's right, I have this to say. And so when I get to the point sometimes, which we all still have, unless you are Oprah, maybe she does too, but you get to the point where you start to doubt yourself and you start to have that ego, fear come back into place and say, who do you think you are for saying this? Who do you think you are for showing up in this way? And it's an evil, evil, evil voice. And I was just fighting with it last night. And then I realized I had to love it instead, and then I could go to sleep. But I think that she's a great example of someone who's not afraid to just be as bright as possible, because she knows that it's her mission and that the world glows brighter because of it. She's not going to let someone else shine brighter because someone else has a different way of shining. She's just going to show up, and she's not going to apologize. And so she's like my person. I'm like, okay, what would Oprah do? It's like I need a bracelet. WWOD, what would Oprah do?
You know how much I love Oprah, and I've got Oprah we've got her on the wall behind us. We're having a little conversation on the wall.
You're like Oprah.
A little bit of visualization.
Yes.
Yeah. But so thank you very much for showing up today.
Oh, sure. It's my pleasure.
It was really, I've really had a great time discussing all of this with you, and I hope that that anyone that comes to see this can either, benefit from either a Soulmap session or a session with you. Because I'm a big
Absolutely.
believer in opening things up, and
Yeah.
there's so much to go around, and that whether someone books, they're looking to look for a little bit of info on, or a little bit
Right.
of juiciness in your way or
Exactly.
my way, then that's all cool.
Yeah, it's all good. And I
Yeah.
feel like there's so many different paths that people can take, and I frankly don't care where you go. Like, come to me, come to Stephanie, go to any of the myriad options that are out there, but please, please
Do something.
do something and get support in the process, because it is really, really scary sometimes, and really, really lonely. It's really lonely. I know we've had conversations where we're like, God, I feel like such a jackass, or I feel like I can't do this. And you need someone to say, yes, you can. And someone who really knows from experience that you can, not just a mom who's like, oh, you can do it, baby. No, someone who's like, here's how you can do it right now. Here's 3 things you can do today to feel better. You need concrete help, and that's what we're here for. And I'm so proud that both of us are able to now show up better for the world.
Yeah, it's wicked, and I'm so happy that we connected.
Me too.
So if anyone wants to, if you're interested in looking at checking Emelie out a bit more, then her site is www.forbiddenlife.org.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, where my site is because you're here.
Yay!
And we look forward to doing, some catching up with you and other interviews down the track. And,
that would be fantastic.
Sharing your knowledge with the Soulmap viewers. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you.